Hey artists, we're going to make these beautiful barn owls. Follow along with me and I'll show you all the steps for creating your own. Okay, with our pencil, up at the top of our brown paper, we're going to draw an M shape, like a really big, wide M shape. And that's going to be the top of our owl's face. Then we're going to bring it down kind of to make like an apple shape. It's going to come down and curve, down and curve. And it just kind of looks like almost like a little apple shape. The next thing I'm going to do is find that point, and I'm going to bring my finger down and I'm going to draw a little curve and then a long V shape to make the beak for our owl. We're going to curve two skinny lines up where we connect to the eyes. And it's going to be like a football shape. It's a curve over and a curve under. Curve over, curve under. And then we're ready to add our permanent marker. Well, one more step. Silly me. Let's also take our pencil, go around smoothly around the outside of the owl's face. And then we're going to curve this side kind of out to show where his body goes. And we'll have this one kind of come down and then just lightly curve out. And there's our owl. With the Sharpie marker, or whatever you have, this is a Bic, we're gonna add some little skinny lines for texture. We're gonna add these texture lines all the way around the owl's face. All the way around until you get back to where you started. And these are just short little lines. Okay, I've got those little short lines all the way around. The next step is we are going to outline that beak with our marker. We're going to put those lines straight up. And then I want to make big circle, little circle, big circle, little circle. And I love this part because once we color these eyes in, your owl just comes to life. So take your marker and just color in the eye, leaving that space where we drew the circles for the shine in the owl's eye. And we just color around, leaving that space. And suddenly, I have an owl looking right back at me. I'm gonna get a different marker. Here we go. And then I'm gonna color in all the way around, leaving that space. Perfect. The next step is we're going to take our marker and go over the pencil line that is the outside of our owl. So we're going to take the marker and go all the way down around this outline. Our beautiful barn owl. The next step I'd like you to do is just make some little upside down V shapes. And this is going to show the texture of the feathers all over the owl's body. All right, I love that texture of the feathers. We can add a little tiny line on the beak just to make it look a little bit sharper. We can also add a line from the beak up to the top of that little face, and we can add in those little short texture lines that we did around the face, just right down the middle, just showing the texture of the feathers right there. We could also add some of the little feathers around the eyes, just some little short lines. And it's not a ton. We're not giving them huge eyelashes or anything. It's just a few little lines. So we'll have a couple of those little feathers coming down here. Perfect. Now that is one good looking barn owl. The next thing we're gonna do is add some color. All right, using some chalk pastels, we're gonna get out some different colors together. I'd like to get out some yellow, some orangey yellow, so I'm like a light orange, kind of orangey yellow. What else? We need white, and we need like a nice kind of pink color. Either like a pink or a peachy color like that. Okay, and now we are ready to add some color and texture to our owl. So we are going to just kind of add some white lightly. And you can turn it to the side if you want to get that white color on here. And then we're going to use our finger and we're going to blend. And that's just going to move the chalk around. Now, I want you to notice that I don't have my entire hand smashed in here. I am using one finger. And that way when I clean up, I only have one finger that needs to be cleaned up instead of a whole hand. I'm hoping I don't see anyone with their whole hand covered in chalk, because that shows me you are not following directions. I also want to add the white to our owl's face. And so I'm keeping it within that line where we drew the texture. I'm going to blend that up. Beautiful. And I can always just get a little excess off of there. We can also put some white in the beak. I can add a little drop of white chalk onto the eyes. And now I'm going to take this yellow shade and add some yellow to the body, up around the face and coming down. And maybe I'll add a little bit of this kind of sunshiny yellowish orange. And I'm putting it on the sides, kind of like a little shadow. And once again, we're using our finger to blend. We're going to cut these out, so if a little bit gets outside of the line, that's okay. So we're blending with our finger. We can get some of that more orangey color and add a little bit of that here. Just kind of showing the shadow around the neck. I might use a darker orange. I kind of like that best. And once again, I'm using my finger and blending this up. Beautiful. I can add in a little bit more white just to make it a little bit brighter, maybe down here. Again, just taking that one finger and blending it up. Perfect. Now under our owl's eyes, I'm going to add just a little bit of like that pinkish color. And it's not a ton. It's a very small amount. And again, taking my finger to blend. If you can look up close, just blending that kind of pink color under the eye. Kind of gives him a rosy look. He's looking so cool. And once you have all that color blended, we are going to go to the next step. Okay, one last thing before I cut it out. I'm going to take the black and just add the tiniest little shadow. Too much black is going to ruin it, so it's just going to be a little shadow under the neck. And then I'm going to use my finger and just gently, and that's just going to help define the face and make that face stick out just a little bit more. I'm going to do that around the edge of the beak. Perfect. That's looking fantastic. So the next thing I'm going to do is carefully cut out the owl. Now we repurposed some older paper that we just had in the art room, and it has these little holes which are not going to be helpful for what we are doing. So here at the bottom, I'm just going to carefully cut those holes off. Brown paper works great for this, or a brown paper bag. We just had a lot of this kind of. All right, it's all cut out. I'm going to get a piece of black paper. Before I glue this on, I'm just gonna kind of see where it's gonna sit so I can see where I have room for my moon. Probably gonna put my moon right there, but I could also scoot the owl over and have the moon right there. So it's really up to you. Kind of decide where you're gonna put him. I'm gonna set him to the side. And using my white chalk pastel, I'm just gonna make a nice white circle. I'm gonna tap off that extra chalk, take my finger and smooth it out to make that kind of glowing halo around the moon. Perfect. I'm gonna take a white colored pencil and just add some teeny tiny little, this is the problem, is if my chalk starts getting everywhere. Okay, we're gonna add some of these little tiny stars in the sky. Not a ton, just enough to really make it all come together for our nighttime barn owl. Awesome. And if I miss any spots, I can always go in and add some after we glue our owl onto our page. Something else that I've noticed, I'm going to set this background to the side for a moment, is that when I did all my blending, my owl looks great, but the eyes have kind of faded. If you want, and you don't have to do this, but if it's faded too much, just take that black colored pencil and you can go back over those eyes just to get that really, really dark black to make those eyes really pop out. And again, this is just an option. You don't have to do that, but I like it because it really makes the eyes look like they're just shining in the dark. So I'm just adding that black back in, and I'm gonna get ready for glue. Beautiful. That looks great. I'm going to carefully flip him over. I'm going to take the glue, leaving a space. If I put the glue right up on the edge, it's going to blob out. So I'm leaving a little space in between the edge and where I put the glue, just a skinny, skinny line and one squiggle through the middle. Now I'm going to carefully pick up the owl. Now we know that blending, if I start rubbing, I'm going to rub all of the chalk off. So I'll show you what we need to do. Let's set the paper down. And I said I'm going to keep him right here down at the edge like that. I'm going to place him, just kind of tapping it down. I'm going to take the paper and turn it over. Now I'll rub the back just to make sure that the owl is glued on there nicely. We'll flip it over, and if I have any chalk, I can just kind of rub that off. If there's a few spots I should add some little stars, I can do that. And wow, I just love the way these owls turned out. Beautiful. And this is something we found on a blog spot called Merrymaking, and I just love the inspiration because these are very cool. I can't wait to see the barn owls that you create.